Hi guys, in this video I will show you how to check your fuel pressure on a 2007 Impala, but this pertains to almost any vehicle. You can also check your fuel pump, your fuel lines, your fuel filter, and your fuel pressure regulator all in one shot. Right here is on the fuel rail is a test port. This is your Schrader valve, and all cars have this on the fuel rails. You just take that off and you get yourself a fuel pressure tester, something like this. And this has an actual drain for the gas, so you have a little container, you could just drain it in there. And you put this on there and just turn and screw it down. And this is a little hard to do with one hand. Just bear with me for a second. As you can see, that's how it's done. And you might want to put some rags down when you do this. And I actually got it. And tighten it down as much as you can by hand. You have to be careful with this because you don't want any fuel to be squirting all over your motor. So do it kind of tight. And that's pretty tight right there. And always have rags handy in case there is a leak. So, like I said, this is a good test to see if your fuel pump is bad. Now, if you have bad fuel pressure, could be a few things that's doing it. And say, for example, you have a hard start. Sometimes intermittent hard start, that could also be a fuel pressure regulator. You have low power. Your emissions are bad. Gas mileage is bad. Computer can also pick up a lean condition if you have bad fuel pressure, low fuel pressure. And you can have backfiring to the intake because of the lean condition. Also a stall when you're driving. This can all be symptoms of fuel pressure problems. This particular car should be at around 59 psi. And every car is different, the pressure readings, and you could check alldata.diy.com for your particular car. If you have low pressure, it could be a bad fuel filter. It could also be a bad line, a plugged fuel line, or kinked fuel line. Also check for correct voltage, battery voltage. You should have full battery voltage at your fuel pump. That could also be an electrical problem if you don't have full battery voltage there. You check the amps from the fuel pump when it's cranking or when it's running. Make sure there's no excessive draw. It could also mean a bad fuel pump. And check your wiring diagram if you have any more electrical questions on your particular car when it comes to that. And there's a rule of thumbs. If you have 14 to 15, 20 psi, you should have 3 to 4 amps drawing from the fuel pump. 30 to 45 psi, around 7 amps. 45 to 50, 7 to 8 amps. And 50 to 70 psi, you should have anywhere from 8 to 12 amps. So that's like a good rule of thumb if you don't know the actual specs. And if you have a bad fuel pressure regulator, you could have, like I said, long intermittent crank time. And this particular car doesn't have a fuel pressure regulator, so I can't really show you that in this car. This has a fuel purge valve over here for the evap. So there's 2 lines coming from the gas tank in this car. This feeds the fuel rail and feeds the injectors, and this feeds the actual evap. So, and you can also get a code for that. If you have an intermittent, intermittent hard start, it could be your drain back valve on your anti-drain back valve on your fuel pump. Once you let go of once you turn the car off, you could drain everything back in. You don't have fuel when you try to crank it. So if you're cranking, then a good way to test that would be crank it doesn't start, then crank it again, doesn't start. If it takes a couple times to crank and start, that could be a problem right there. Plus, you would have to, you once you turn the motor off, you're going to see the drain back, the pressure go all the way down to 0 or more than it should. Some cars are like 8 to 10 psi. It should drain back after 5 minutes. It should the psi should drop around there. Like again I said, also check your manufacturer specs on that. For fuel pressure regulator, also some are controlled by vacuum. If you take the vacuum off it and have the motor running a couple of minutes, it could be a small tear, so you have to wait a couple of minutes, and then you're going to see gas come shooting through that port. That means you have a small tear on your diaphragm and your regulator. And also when you take the regulator vacuum port off, you should see a 5 to 10 psi jump when you do that. If you don't, then it's probably your fuel pressure regulator is bad. Also, a good way to check your fuel pressure regulator is to clamp. You can clamp off or kink the return line going to your gas tank, and if you have low fuel pressure, for example, and you don't know if it's the regulator or the pump, if you clamp off the return line and your fuel pressure jumps up, that's a good indication that it's a bad regulator. So I think that's all I have to say on that. Now let me start the car and I'll show you what this looks like. Like I said, this is a 2007 Chevy Impala, but this test could be done on any vehicle. You turn that on, and I should have around 59 psi at idle. It's 59 psi at idle. So I know everything's good here. Since I don't have a pressure regulator, my fuel pump's good, and my fuel filter. Actually, this car doesn't even have a fuel filter. So my fuel pump's good on this car. Now when I turn it off, I'll show you what it does when you turn it off. You're going to see it drain back about 9 to 10 psi. Now that should hold steady for 5 or 10 minutes, depending on your vehicle. Every vehicle is different, but the most I've seen maybe 8 to 10 psi. Like I said, you could check alldatadiy.com to check your own specifications on that. Now if this goes down very slowly, keeps on going down, say in 5 minutes it goes down to 0, it could be an anti-drain back valve on your fuel pump, and which also should cause issues when starting it. Either intermittent starts, long cranking starts in the morning, whenever you shut your car off. Another good thing to do is, if this does drain back, it could also be your fuel injectors leaking. So you have to be careful with that too. It's not necessarily always your fuel pump. Or you could have a cracked line somewhere inside the fuel tank going to your fuel pump. So be very careful in diagnosing this. The thing with cars is it could always be a million things wrong with it, other than the obvious. So it's one thing to look for. OTC also has an actual tool that pulses the injectors. Each individual injector could be pulsed. With the pressure being held here, you're going to see each injector cranking down. Whenever you pulse each injector, it should drop the PSI the same for each injector. So OTC makes a tool for that. You can actually pulse each injector and make sure each injector drops the same correct PSI for each one, with not a big variation between all of them. So thanks for watching. I hope this helps. And also this actual, before I let you go, like I said, this has an anti-drain back valve here. So you just press this and it drains back all this into a cup. If you have a, don't put like in a little plastic cup, because that's going to burn. Gas will burn it right through it. Get like a glass container or something just to purge it out of here. And I'm just going to press it a little bit and see how it fills up over there. And when you take this off, make sure you have rags underneath. Make sure you have rags underneath here to catch any excess fuel. Also, with the fuel, make sure you have rags underneath the regulator. If you do actually take the vacuum port off the regulator and there's gas squirting through that port, make sure you have rags on there. Also, a good way to see if it does have gas in there, once you take it off, make sure you can rub it with your hand and smell it. You know, maybe there's some gas residue. There's also a good indicator that your diaphragm might be leaking over there. So, thanks for watching, and subscribe to my channel. Check the news to subscribe, or like me on Facebook. Thanks for watching, and take care.